Like, I don't remember like how the Judge thing became, but once we had the idea in place that we were going to record this record and give it away inside the Schism fanzine, I was like oblivious to anything else around me. I was so fucking consumed with Judge and what it was going to be. I mean, I was so on fire because I just thought I came up with the coolest idea.
It was like that scene was the family that I was looking for. Like, I fit in with a group of people who didn't fit in anyway, you know? But together, we were whole. I'm like a fucking shy, introverted guy. Why I wanted to sing for a band, I have no fucking idea. It's just what I was compelled to do. It's what scares me the most. Now, being in the front, all eyes on me, because I hate that.
I feel it's coming on. Beating sorrows of days gone wrong. It's show's over and I'll hang my head. Don't think of all the tears of brotherhood and things we say. What is that?
The reason I started Judge was like a full-on like lashing out at something I was pissed off about. At the time, I was playing drums in Youth of Today, and I'm hearing all these people trying to tear Youth of Today down, and it was so off fucking base. I mean, you ain't gonna find nicer people than John Purcell and fucking Ray Cappo. I mean, I was angry about it, man, to the point where I got like, the high road isn't working anymore. You know, let's get dirty a little bit.
Mike actually approached me. He said, you know, I'm thinking about doing this band. You know, I really want to do it. I've been writing lyrics. I want to make it kind of like Oi, and I want to make it kind of dark and tough. And that's when the whole kind of like brainstorming of Judge happened. And it was sort of a very kind of disheartening time in our life. Straight edge was kind of on its way out. I will say this, me and Mike were very serious about straight edge. I think Judge was really born out of this kind of like disheartened sort of dark place, which we were actually in at the time, especially Mike.
All right. It's been a long fucking time. I've seen a lot of good people turn bad, and I've seen a lot of good people get stepped on. But not anymore. We're Judge. This next song's about people who do drugs. I've heard the excuses. I just want to have a good time. I want to visit heaven. You know? The way I see it, drugs just get in your way. And the people who do drugs are always in my way.
I make this band that's gonna be like the total opposite of what Youth of Today was. It's gonna be this militant, nasty fucking band, like in your face. Everything that they accused Youth of Today of being, I was gonna be. I'm gonna write all these fucking militant, fucking nasty. I'm gonna be as mean as possible. It's gonna be fucking exclusionary. That's what I was gonna give him, and just be like, okay, can you tell the difference now between this band and that band?
He was very super passionate and serious about doing these bands. He had a notebook, lyrics. I mean, he was writing every day. He was like super into it.
Now that I know I'm gonna make this fucking band, I just wanna like fucking bleed on the fucking paper. Just, I'm not gonna hide anything, you know?
He wanted to sing. And if you know Mike, he's a very shy, reserved guy. And I couldn't for the life of me picture him singing in a band. We recorded at Don Fury's for $75. We freaking banged it out, like first take, practically everything. And I'm listening in the headphones, I'm like, man, this music is actually really freaking cool. And so Don Fury sends Mike in to do the vocals, and Fed Up is the first song. Roll the tape. I was friggin' blown away. Like, he opened his mouth, it's like this freaking lion's roar like comes out of his mouth, and he pretty much sang Fed Up like first take. I really started thinking like, oh my God, this is like gonna be better than I ever imagined. So that's really like how, you know, the Judge thing first kind of solidified into like, we're gonna do this as a band.
I remember it must have been like '88. Purcell and I and someone else had decided we weren't going to wear leather that year, right? Because we were all vegetarian and whatnot. And so I remember I was with Purcell and he goes up to Mike and he's like, "Guy, '88, no leather." And Mike just turns and he's like, "Nobody tells me what to do."
I lost a lot of friends when I started, Judge.
I'm the assistant.
I guess I said a couple things that pissed some people off. But I didn't lose enough to make me stop, and it'll never hold me back.
We'd go on tour, and it was like the rumor would get there right before us, you know? And it would get there, but it was like this big. And then at the next spot, the rumor was here yesterday, but it was this big, you know? And then by the time you get to the West Coast, it's like full-blown, like the stories were just out of fucking control. The most common one was that I was this, you know, militant straight edge guy who just wanted to kill drug dealers. And, no, but I wish it was that simple, you know? Being in California and fucking, the phone rang and they actually asked for Mike Judge. And they're like filling us in that the Klan is gonna have a rally and that, you know, the Hammerskins will be there and they're gonna fucking like protest Judge and whatnot. So, you know, when Mike Judge gets here, he can like just take care of all that. You know, and it's like, okay, I'll let Mike Judge know. You know, like, who fucking calls up and fucking goes, yeah, can you get Mike Judge down here? The Klan is rallying. Like, what the fuck am I gonna do, you know? Like, it was just like that all the fucking time. Like, seriously, like I was a comic book fucking guy who was just fucking gonna come in and fucking, here I am to save the fucking day. You know, I couldn't even save myself, man. I was trying to tell you all, you just didn't listen.
One's called I've Lost.
The straight edge scene itself didn't have a lot of violence in it. Most of the kids were into this kind of like more positive music. When Judge came around, that completely changed.
Things were just fucking violent. Like, we just attracted it, you know, because I guess I wanted it, and now I'm seeing what, you know. Fucking never dawned on me that fucking words are like that important, you know, like when you're in a position where you can write something and people are gonna listen to you and you don't take it seriously, you know, you could cause a lot of damage, and I did. They wanted an excuse to fucking hurt somebody, and I was their excuse. Now we can be the fucking, you know, animals that we want to be. Now we can treat the weaker people the way we want to treat them, you know? Bringing It Down record, I mean, I couldn't be like more honest. I tried to like explain myself and just say, listen, I'm just a reactionary guy, you know? So you can stop with the hard edge and shit and fucking these straight edge gangs. Those were just the words of, you know, this fucked up guy, you know? No matter how fucking hard I screamed, they were always like going back to that first reference point, the first thing they heard, you know? And I could never break that. They still wanted the fucking straight edge revenge, you know? There's nothing worse than having your own words like spit back in your face, you know? And you want to get pissed off, but then you fucking realize that you're the one who fucking did it, you know? You came up with the idea, stupid, you know? There was just no making up for it, man. That's why the band blew up. We were doing a tour, and by the time we got to Florida, I was just shot. I was out of it, man. I just couldn't take it anymore.
If you read Mike's lyrics, he's coming from a dark place, and music for him, especially writing lyrics, was a very cathartic thing, you know, for him. He's had this kind of fucked up life, and he's had a lot of heavy things happen in his life, and he kind of sang about it. So kids that had fucked up lives could relate to it. So we would play a show, and it would not just be straight edge kids, it'd be skinheads, you know, because, you know, Mike looked like a skinhead. You know, I went from being in youth today where everyone's kind of like positive and happy, chanting to make a change, to Judge would play a show and there'd be like skinheads hanging out for the shows, like with guns. A really big, you know, downward turn for Judge is we played this one show, one of those last shows that we played for that Bringing It Down tour.
All these like white power, Nazi, like bona fide Aryan Nazi skinheads showed up.
And we're just like, Jesus Christ, here we go again. Some guy wandered into the show. It wasn't even a hardcore kid, he just kind of wandered into the show, kind of near the pit, and all these skinheads started to pound him, like these racist skinheads. These were the guys who were up front singing every word, and a black guy comes in, and now they're frickin', you know, beating him down. So these are like our fans.
Since when does 6 guys on one old guy prove anything, man? Can't you guys come to a show and have a good time?
Mike was very depressed after that show, super depressed, because, you know, you can imagine, he's the one that's writing the lyrics, he's the one kind of putting himself out there.
I remember packing up and Purcell was driving and I was riding shotgun, and for the first time in like 2 fucking tours, we just weren't talking. I was just looking out the window and I knew we were on our way home. I think finally I just said, when we get home, I think I'm gonna quit. I think he said something like, I think it might be that time or something like that. And that was it. I didn't talk to those guys for quite a long time. I didn't hear from them for a while. And that was just the end of it.
Oh, just like you, I chose a path. And for to make it work, thought I found what I was looking for. Oh God, I'm fucking lost. Thank you.
There was always like some kind of like weird, like mysterious thing around Judge. The fact that there was only like stories and urban legends about him, like, you know, and obviously being an outsider, you always kind of just intrigued, like, who was the singer or Judge, kind of, you know?
There actually wasn't all that much information about Mike, you know, other than the music. And there's something wonderful about that, really, because that's art in a really pure form. But I think it allowed people to invent, in a vacuum, whatever story they chose to invent about it.
God, the stories, my God. And I didn't believe a single one of them because stories have been told about you, about me, about everybody, you know?
One time, Shelter was in Sweden, and we played with that band, Refused. And then all of a sudden I hear like, Dennis from Refused on stage, he's going, "Run on Mike Judge," you know, something, Mike Judge, like some Swedish word. And I turned to the person, I was like, what the hell is he saying? And he was saying, "Free Mike Judge." And the whole crowd was chanting, "Free Mike Judge," because there was a rumor that Mike was in jail.
You know, whatever happened to Mike, someone said like he lives in Nutley, New Jersey or something, and he's like, you know, his family has a farm.
There was the Mike's a farmer. I heard that one.
You know, you would hear, oh, Mike lives like in a shack somewhere in the mountains because he hates people. Like Mike joined like a renegade motorcycle group, like all this crazy shit.
The rumor was basically Mike's a biker gang guy, you know.
The craziest is still that I was like in the fucking Hells Angels in Germany and I killed a cop, and that I actually rode around with the cop's head on my motorcycle. People really believed that. The people I was hanging out with at the time, they would always be like, "Who is this Mike Judge?" And I'm like, "It's fucking me, man. Just fucking rattle that fucking alcohol-soaked brain a little bit. It's me. Let it sink in." I was in a band. They called me Mike Judge. They're like, "But you're nothing like that." I'm like, "Yeah, that's why it's so fucked up, stupid."
I can't get away from the past.
The band broke up and I went home. And so I'm sitting in my little town in Jersey. I got nothing to do with myself and shit. So I start hanging around with, you know, people who aren't like, you know, the nicest people, you know? Next thing I know, you know, not the next thing I knew what I was doing. You know, I joined a bike club. It was just one mistake after another for a while.
You know, it makes sense. After being like a hardcore guy or a skinhead or whatever, like, where do you go? You become a biker.
After we broke up, all I wanted to do was ride my motorcycle and never have any responsibility. I just wanted to ride my motorcycle forever. Eventually, you know, my father, you know, came to me and said that he had lung cancer and that they gave him like 6 months or some shit. I just went right into being around him and, you know, being with him. And he lasted for like 2 years before he actually passed away. That was like the hardest 2 years, the most emotionally draining time of my life was that time, and then that last like 6 months to a year was just, I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy, how brutal that was. You know, my father, he was like a guy who was just like, you know, you're a man and you man up, you just don't display the softness. He did say that he was proud of me and everything I did, and that I stood up to him and everybody else, and just, I had a goal and I do or die, I went for it, for better or for worse.
You know, after Judge had broken up in like 90, 91, and Gorilla Biscuits had broken up, and, you know, a big chapter of the hardcore scene just kind of, it's like the, you know, the page got turned or whatever, it was changing.
I felt bad that I wasn't in a band, because when you're in a band, it's like it's you and your handful of buddies against the fucking world. They were like the family I didn't have, you know, and then all of a sudden that was gone. And then I loved Judge.
Right there, get him.
Just
Get him.
Don't you even do it. Don't do it. Look at him.
I usually stand up and admit to my own fuck-ups, you know, I always had. And instead of buckling down and fighting for it, you know, I took my ball and went home. When I walked away, I just lost track of everybody. We were so incredibly tight for so long. Even like Gorilla Biscuits and Civ and Wally and shit, Arthur. I mean, we spent so much time together. Like our summers were spent in vans. And then part of me that's like hates myself because I didn't see like where their lives went, you know, like I just wasn't there for it. The good and the bad, you know, I just missed it all because I created something that I didn't want to face.
You know, Judge is one of these bands that the idea of getting back together was, you know, would be amazing. You know, when some of these bands were getting back together, I think it just came up like, hey, Judge would be a really, you know, great band to see. And also, you know, who the fuck is Mike? Where is he? Where'd he go? So all of a sudden he pops up on like Facebook. And immediately I'm thinking like, okay, this can't be, you know, Mike that I know, but it's Mike Judge with this like misfit skull as his like logo on Facebook. And he's all about it. He's just like, blah, 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 this and that.
Yeah, first of all, I never thought it was going to happen. Never in a million. You know, people would ask me, is Judge ever going to do a reunion? I'm like, dude, it is never going to happen.
Nobody had really been in contact with him, and then Civ started talking to him. I know Civ had been working on this for a while. This was like his baby, this was his project. He wanted this to happen.
Mike and I spoke on the phone a lot, and you know, one of the things I said was, you can't bullshit me and say you don't miss it. Like, I sing in the band too, you miss it. We've been showing up for 20 years, going to shows, promoting shows, playing shows, doing interviews, doing whatever to you know, cause this scene to move. And I, you know, said to Mike, like, you know, no offense, but like, you gotta get back in here, like, you gotta show up. This doesn't happen unless everybody shows up. And I was like, you fucking haven't shown up for 20 years, man, you gotta help. And he was just like, you're right, brother. So I said, fair enough, that's all I needed, you know.
Truthfully, I was a million miles away from playing in Judge again. I guess I just figured he was buried. Anthony Civarelli, Civ, so he asked me a favor. You got to come to the Black and Blue this year. GB's headlining it, and we want you to be our guest. So I say, all right, you know. The Black and Blue boys, they fucking treat us really good. I just have a fucking good time. I'm up in the fucking balcony. GB comes on. I'm fucking just digging it big time, man. And brought back good memories, man. Like, all of a sudden, like, it wasn't the bad shit that was flowing through my mind. It was just all those good times and all the cool shit we did. Anthony had this fucking rap before New York Crew, right? And he says this thing about me.
My brother, Mike Judge, is in the house. Mike took me out of Queens in 1987 as his drum tech, showed me the world, taught me what hardcore was about, what being a skinhead was about, what being a friend was about. This goes out to Mike, this goes out to you. Whatever you got left, let's get it out now. It's called New York Crew.
Right there, I was like, I fucking leaned over and I just told my wife, I was like, there's no doubt in my mind that Judge is gonna play the next Black and Blue.
In remembrance of all New York, and to my friends, you're the ones I fought. A special place left in my heart. Those days are gone, man, but they're not forgotten.
New York at the time, like especially then, like the early 80s, it was like Disneyland in hell. You know, like every fucking corner there was a fucking hustle. You know, 50 cents, you could see 3 pornos and a kung fu movie. The city was fucking nuts. But I fucking loved it.
Civ called me and said, I think we're going to do it. I think Judge is going to get back together for a show. Call Mike and tell him like how important this is and why it needs to happen.
You know, there's bands that get back together, you know, or just do one show for a big, you know, nut of money or something like that. But if he was going to do it, he was going to do it kind of on his terms. And if he didn't feel right about doing it again, that wasn't going to happen. I mean, we literally worked on it for 2 years. And everybody who was on board with it knew like it had to be perfect. Like, you know, it's a delicate, delicate thing. So we were really trying not to fuck anything up. It's like Voltron, all these parts come together and you have Judge, but separately it's not going to work.
I always kind of put it out there that, hey, if anyone wants to do it, I am in, you know, because I really enjoyed playing those songs. You know, so I just kind of threw it out there, hey, I would love to play those songs again. And, you know, the songs actually meant a lot to me. And it was very, very cool. I remember that very first practice we played, it sort of really gelled. And it really came together. And it was great. We sounded like Judge. I hadn't seen him for whatever, like 20 years, you know, when, you know, before Judge got back together. It was like the day of that first practice, we were still like, you know, when you're friends, you can go 20 years and then, you know, it's like you catch up and just, you know, you haven't missed a day practically.
I got to the door and the doorman wouldn't let me in. And that one guy that worked at Pisa's Wawa with Richie, that biker dude, he was working, and dude, he literally grabbed me and he pulled me into the door like seconds before those guys were just gonna rip me back out in the street, like a half a second. And I would have just been, they would have grabbed me in the street and like beat me down again. It was crazy. I walked out there with like all the sick Vidal guys, Gavin. I had like a posse of like 30 people, but they weren't there.
Yeah, it's really wild.
These guys always like to go down this like violent number lane.
I know.
Remember that?
That's right, there it is, right there. The Almighty Judge headlining this year's Black and Blue. Yeah, boy. 2013. Webster Hall, the old Brits. It's gonna be bananas like you've never imagined in your life.
They had us headlining. And, you know, here's Judge. You know, back in the day, we weren't a big band. You know, we play a show. If there was 300 kids at a show, that was huge. I mean, normally it'd be between 50 and 100 kids. And when that show sold out almost immediately, I was like, I couldn't believe it.
You know, the pressure was really on Mike. He's got the hardest job. He's out in front, and he's the personality that everybody, you know, looks to. I just get to jump around and have a good time.
You know, when you're the front man in a band and you have to take that responsibility on yourself, it's, especially if you have like a fear of success or a fear of failure, whichever way you want to look at it, I mean, it's the same thing. You know, you're going to be nervous about that.
I've always had like this incredible amount of like stage fright, you know? I just knew that I was going to have to face that thing of being in front of a crowd, but I always had to do that. When we got there, I remember looking out the window and I was like, wow, you know, there's a lot of people here. No big deal. It's a lot of people though. And in fucking Judge's fucking height, never played in front of a quarter of those people, you know? This is like a definite fucking do not fall on your face here, man. And then the lights went out and our intro started playing. The guys just put on their guitars and shit. They start feedbacking their guitars and then people are already like jumping on the stage and like diving off without the music even playing.
But once the click, click, click and of Take Me Away and then the lights and it worked and everybody was happy.
It was pretty fucking wild, man. There were like people flying everywhere. The first line was, I was thinking of it all. And it was like the perfect way to start it all over, man. Everything that happened, I was thinking of it all.
Once again, all beat all. We time to get through while not fall. But believe it was not luck. Just believe it. who I couldn't trust.
Just to get Mike back out on stage and like where he belongs, I don't know, it's like some kind of joy where you see like what you imagined it could be and it became better.
It was this scene that saved my life when I was a little fucked up punk rock kid who didn't fit in anywhere in my hometown. This is for everybody, because I love this fucking city and I love this fucking scene. Anthony Civarelli, he's gonna sing it with me. Anthony? New York, I'm gonna help with this one if you don't mind.
Let me hear you. I wanted back then, that we were dead. Shown all these new hearts, they're not so fucking bad.
You know, part of the joy for me of doing Judge now is being able to play these songs, because I think you've talked to a lot of people from that scene, and that was one of the most important times, or one of the best times of all of our lives. It's rare that you get a chance to kind of get that stuff back, and I think we all appreciate it, more than ever.
I was just hoping that I could be there and see it. I knew I would be, and like now you're telling me that I'm going to be like part of it. I was just totally super honored, and to play those songs, it meant a lot to me back then, and it means a lot to me now.
What we all enjoy about Judge would not have existed in any way were it not for Mike. To me, he's a guy who had an incredible amount of courage to step out of the circumstances that he was in, which were very difficult, and to make a life that is purely his own. And I think he opened up a lot of doors for a lot of people.
When you're right next to a building and you're looking up, you can't really tell how big it is until you kind of step away from the building and you're just like, damn, that building's pretty big. So when you do a band like that, sometimes it takes a few years down the road to actually realize, the impact that the band had. Sometimes it takes like 20 years and you look back and you're just like, damn, some of these bands that I did when I was a freaking kid sort of had an impact. And instead of feeling pride, I actually feel humility from it. Sometimes, when you see, kids influenced even like to this day. And really that's what we set out to do in the first place, to kind of make a difference. And we were so influenced and so changed by music that we wanted to do bands that affected other people. And, we actually did it. It's awesome.
I never pictured myself being able to write words like I was going to be that guy. Like, maybe fucking being there for like some kid just like me, I guess at such like an young age, it was always drilled into me that I really ain't got nothing to say, and anything I do say, nobody wants to listen to. So I think that kind of shit is just hard to shake, no matter how big the crowd gets or how loud they sing along and shit. I'm still that fucking little kid in the room playing air guitar, hoping that someone wants to listen. I've always loved Judge. It was the thing that hurt the most when I thought I let it down. I'm happy I could come back and make amends with it. It's just a cool band. I'm happy to be a part.
think this is where it ends. But